welcome to another Popcorn Heroes review of Shang-Chi and the level of 10 rings. Not the legend.
No, man, it's the legend.
Anyways, I am Armando. With me, as always, is Pedro. What's going on, man?
Hello.
Time no here, I'd say.
That's true. We've been busy.
Busy. But we saw Shang-Chi, the latest, the greatest entry to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Good starter movie for a new hero.
Great origin. Yep.
But before we get into the smack talk, Pedro, let us know the premise.
All right. So, this film is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And it is the origin story of the Ten Rings. A very, very famous artifact in the comics. Also wielded by Mandarin, another famous Marvel villain. So this is the film's version, the MCU version of the Mandarin. And they do by introducing Wenwu, a man that's hinted at being thousands of years old, as he uses the 10 rings to conquer the world, essentially. And then he has some children, and one of those, and his son ends up being Shang-Chi, the titular hero. And then it's pretty much, this is spoiler territory, so let me sidestep a couple things. It now follows Shang-Chi in the present, living the valet driver life, when he's all of a sudden attacked by some assassins sent by his father, Wenwu.
Nice. And story
and I'm gonna stop right there and just say Marvel shit happens.
Nice.
Call it a day.
Lovely premise as usual, Pedro.
You're welcome.
Good description, I think people understand it, straightforward. Very straightforward type of movie here. But Pedro, you know how we do. As soon as we're done with the premise, we do 1 out of 5 very small thoughts. Tell me, Pedro, what did you think about this movie?
I really liked it. I give it a good solid 4.25 on that one.
Nice, 4.25.
Yeah, I actually really liked it. I liked that the fight scenes were fantastic. I know I'll get into it a little deeper of what I'm proud that this movie did what another show did not do, and I'm glad it did it. So essentially, the choreo was great. The martial arts were fantastic, which is exactly what we wanted going into it. Great introduction to the characters, great antagonist, very well-rounded. Marvel's been doing that, I want to say pretty lately. Yeah. I would say Marvel's done it more than it hasn't at this point. They've done pretty well-rounded villains lately. And, it was just fun. Right. You're right. Well, overall, though, I think it's on a pretty good track. But yeah, great cast, great chemistry between the two leads. And, it got me excited to see this part of the MCU, to see these characters. It really did. It felt different, while at the same time it felt cookie cutter Marvel, while at the same time carving its own section of the universe. So yeah, overall I enjoyed it very much, more than I thought I would, actually. So good stuff.
Yeah, I do Pedro a 4.50. I give it 0.25 higher than you, bruv.
Nice, very nice.
No, I hands down enjoyed this film. I went to see it twice because of how much I liked it. that's something I can't say about Black Widow. I did not watch it twice. I just think this movie was just very entertaining. It was a lighthearted, fun movie. The characters were great. Shang-Chi was great. The villain was great. It was in the heart of it was a family movie. And we could all relate to family, whether it's a good family or a disorganized
or Fast and Furious,
family, type of thing. But that was the heart of the movie. I don't think if it had the familial roots, I don't think it would have hit as hard as it did. And that goes down to the same thing as a Black Panther. Black Panther in the end had the family roots, embedded into it all. It had a lot of familiar bonds. And again, like I said, it was the same thing. It flowed. Fuck. The whole pausing thing fucked me up.
Take your time.
1, 2, 3. So yeah, it had the same family ties as it did with Black Panther, and I think that made the movie stronger within itself. Like you said, the action was fucking great. It also mimicked, we talked about this. It mimicked a lot of Jackie Chan shit. When it comes to the fighting of how he uses his environment a lot to be part of the fighting.
Surroundings. Yep.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed that aspect too. And this is another movie that had a CG fest at the end. But it made sense in a way, the CG fest at the end.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like, not another this one of these things. Even though I'm getting tired of seeing CG fest at the end, in general in Marvel movies, it was still, it made sense with the scope of the film. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Man, what can I say, man? 4.50.
4.50.
Pedro, would you recommend this to anyone?
Highly recommend. Even people that don't like Marvel, or even people that don't like martial arts movies, I would even say that it's just a fun movie. So I definitely would.
I would even say I would recommend it. And I would even recommend it to people who are not that into the MCU. I don't think this movie needs any prior knowledge. Maybe one aspect. But you don't necessarily need prior knowledge to watch this.
Yeah, you don't need it. It's just it just helps you understand the universe a little better. But yeah, you're right. You don't need it. You're right.
You don't. Like,
everything you need to know is explained there. So you might see a cameo or two and go, who the fuck? What the fuck is that? But
and you won't get it. But okay.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a straightforward movie. I really enjoyed it. Go watch it.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
For sure.
Spoilers ahead.
Nitty gritty.
Spoilers up ahead. Spoilers.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about the action sequences, right? This movie had a lot of the action sequences that remind you of a lot of Jackie Chan, right? The first one, the bus one, had, he was using his environment, his sweater, even to fight.
The jacket, huge thing.
And and it also had, the famous Jackie Chan, I don't want trouble, which means shit's about to get down.
I don't want no trouble.
So hopefully they actually did that in homage to it. I'm pretty sure they did.
I'm pretty sure they did. I don't want trouble as an homage, 100%.
Yeah, because
there might have been. I'm sure there were plenty. I mean, a good chunk of the homages I caught. I want to say I did, but there's probably plenty that went like way over my head. Because I read somewhere that the stunt choreographer did certain fight moves that are referencing other things, and I'm like, oof, I don't know about all that. But yeah, that definitely fighting with the jacket, definitely fighting with the environment all around you. I don't want trouble, stuff like that. For this scene specifically, because that's what we're talking about. Yeah, I can see it.
Oh no, and then the next big fight sequence is the one in the building with the scaffolding, which very reminiscing of Rush Hour 2 when he's fighting in the scaffolding.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That was Rush Hour 2, wasn't it?
So I'm just like, this is straight up Rush Hour 2 Jackie Chan going on here.
I think it was,
and that was pretty cool seeing that because he was using the scaffolding to his advantage, and Jackie Chan did the same thing in the movie.
Yeah.
What else? And I think that's pretty much when it comes to major fight scenes, those are the two biggest ones.
Well, so yes, but you're definitely missing a very important one that's not Jackie related, but the opening fight scene was actually the Wenwu flashback.
Yeah,
with the woman that will then become the wife. That one was straight Crouching Tiger, Chinese opera, the very romantic, flirty type of fighting, where it's like, damn, that looks cool.
Yeah, it does. It was very flowy, very airy,
very wire fu,
Exactly.
And I actually loved. So I was gonna say, actually, I'm still gonna say it. Bus fight scene is definitely my favorite in the movie.
It is,
hands down. But a close second, just for a totally different reason, is that one, the opening scene, the fight scene of Wenwu with, I gotta look up her name, but Shang-Chi's mother, and I really, really like that fight scene. I just loved how I was like, oh shit, what a great fucking throwback to it. And the fact that she was, because, I watched a lot of Airbender recently, so the very different fight scenes were choreographed very well, where you can notice a person's different style. And this movie had a lot of that about it. When you look at Wenwu and when you even look at Shang-Chi in the beginning of his fights, it's very like
power,
like boom, boom, like quick punch. And then you had, I'm going to look up her name because that's going to really fucking bother me if I don't find out what her name is. Oh, well, I'll find it out later. I'm just going to keep calling. Oh, there it is. Ying Li, the mother of Shang-Chi. Thank God. So Ying Li, of course, had the whole where she would wave her arms around to like deflect, parry, roll with the punches, and to the point where she was able to completely control and slow down the momentum of the rings. And yeah, man, just visually all of that was great. Because you're like, oh man, this is a crazy fight scene. But at the same time, through their movements, you saw the flirty nature of it. Because you saw him fight earlier in the very beginning where you're like, man, this guy's fucking shit up. And in this one, it was more like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. So yeah, great shit.
Even that opening battle sequence where he just fucked everybody up with the rings was really cool too.
Yeah, just straight up in front of everyone, just boom. Yeah, that sonic boom of the rings.
And even the rings made sense power wise, I feel. But let's talk about the rings, right?
I was actually gonna do that. You beat me to it.
Yeah. Do you think is Shang-Chi gonna able to unlock the different power sets of these rings?
Oh, that's where you're going. No, I don't think so. I think I think so. Let me rephrase that. That is actually a good question. So I don't think that each ring is going to have a different power. I think that that's going to be too close to the gauntlet with the rings, with the stones. So I don't think, because in the comics, for those that don't know, in the comics, the 10 rings are actual rings that go on your finger, and each one has a different power. But, of course, the creators, everyone in the MCU was like, that's way too similar to the whole Thanos thing, collecting the stones and putting the gauntlet on and shit, which I agree 100%. So that being said, I think that he will unlock more moves and more abilities with the ring, but I don't think it's going to be that there's 10 different abilities. Each ring is an ability. I don't think they're going to go that route at all. I think it's just going to be, oh wow, now you learn how to move. You learned a new fighting style, because his fighting style changed. When he fought like his dad, it was more power things. And then when he started fighting like how his mom was with the rings, it unlocked a different moveset. I think it's going to be more of that, unlocking different fighting styles over abilities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I think that would be actually pretty cool that every fighting stance gives you a different set of powers.
Yeah. I think they'll play more into that in upcoming... Yeah. I'm leaning more towards that.
Because his power was purple. His reflective airy dance was yellow.
Yeah, it was like a blue purple, right? And he was like a yellow orange which makes sense for from a visual aspect. You got the cold, with the warm. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that'd be a very interesting dynamic of him learning actually fight different fighting styles. That it gives him a unique upper hand.
Yeah,
using the rings.
It just unlocks different things. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be actually awesome. Look at that. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Now watch them not do it, and we'll be like, ah.
I mean, I just like that because he learned how to fight differently here. So how cool is it that
he did
every different movie or every different appearance he knows how to fight differently, and it unlocks something new.
His character trains with the very famous, the very great Michelle Yeoh, who played as his aunt, and that's how he was able to learn a whole other fighting style of roll with the punches, essentially.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking about the rings? What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that I liked the fact that they changed it from finger rings to bangles, bracelets.
Yeah,
I love that choice. It makes sense, and it's visually appealing. It's nice. It's instead of him just doing punches and the rings are glowing, it's kind of like, this looks way fucking cooler. At first, I wasn't feeling it, but once I saw it in action, like really look at it in action, yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It definitely, some of the fight scenes gave me Airbender vibes,
Oh, for sure, absolutely. Yep.
I was like, shit. That M. Night movie really fucking sucks.
he had no fight choreography in his film, dude. This one, it made complete sense. It was just like on top notch. So, what did you think about the villain? Wenwu himself.
I really liked it. He was definitely very, Yeah, overall, I was going to say I really would have liked to have known, but maybe they're saving that for sequels, to known who he was before. It's kind of like, I was a fucking badass before, and then I met your mom, and then I got soft, and then now I'm cool. So it was just very interesting to like totally rush past a certain part of his life. But I guess they did that to save some shit for the sequel. But that being said, I really like the way they grounded his character. They made him very relatable. Because you're thinking to yourself, in his point of view, if you're hearing the voice, I was thinking of it as kind of like the One Ring thing in Lord of the Rings, where it gets your one deep desire and then it just turns it against you, and you can't even think straight because you're just so blinded by it. You're not in your right mind, so it just makes sense why he turned bad again.
But I wouldn't necessarily say he turned bad, though. I think he was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to get her back, and even before that, it was like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to revenge her death.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right, because he said, oh shit, she's dead. This is my one reason to live a good fucking life.
Yeah.
And actually, shit, you saw Castlevania, right? Yeah, that was the first episode of Castlevania. Super big Dracula vibes of like, oh, I met this mortal, regular old, chick. Oh, let's live a normal life. Let me go, not fly around. And then she fucking dies, and then he's like, all right, everyone else is gonna go down. So yeah, big vibes of that. Sure. Yeah, you're right. It was vengeance, which everyone can agree on.
Yeah.
And
that scene when he first puts his rings back on and he goes with Shang-Chi to find the goons, and he just fucks up the parlor. That was amazing.
That was a great scene, and I love that it was all through the point of view of Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
It was very far back. The camera didn't go into the action.
It stayed.
He went all the way to the back. Yeah, he went to the foreground. Sorry, the background. My bad. He went to the background, punches the table, whoops all their asses, and then you just see his reaction of like, oh my god, like it's like my dad. This is the true, the angry version of my dad. So, and
that's intense.
Good shit.
Yeah, it
was a lot of great choices they did for this film.
Yeah, it was, and you know what? It's just those rings look so cool. that this guy, he doesn't look like a OP person, right? He doesn't look like Wen-Wu doesn't look OP when he was in that scene.
Right.
He's just like a regular guy,
right.
Regular mafioso, and he goes in with those rings and just fucks shit up, dude. And that's how you saw his power, and how he was blocking the gunshots. And I was like, oh my god, like this is so fucking.
I forgot
cool,
about the
dude.
gunshot blocking. Yeah, that was pretty badass.
It was just amazing, dude. Like that whole scene of like you see the power, like that, and it was angry power too. It wasn't like before he was just wrecking shit up because he could, but here he was angry and he was just fucking people up, man. And it was intense, man. It was really intense.
How'd you feel about the comedy? Because MCU now are littered with comedy. How'd you feel about it?
Well, I think the comedy here makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the comedy it fit with the movie. Again, like I said, it's a Jackie Chan movie. The homages even went into the comedy because even some fighting parts had comedy in it. So
yeah,
I think it was very reminiscent of Jackie Chan, and Jackie Chan was always pure action, but had his lighthearted moments, even within the character himself.
Definitely. Yeah. I really liked, like I had mentioned before, oh my god, what's the fucking word I'm looking for? The way these two played off each other, right? Awkwafina, even though she played as herself. At this point, you just hire Awkwafina to play Awkwafina.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless it's like the movie Farewell, where it's just like sad Awkwafina, which is actually very good. But
very sad Awkwafina.
Yeah, but it's still good. I'm not busting her chops for her acting, but at this point they just hire her just to be that. But even then, it was good. It worked. The chemistry is the word I was looking for. The chemistry was really good.
Mm-hmm. The chemistry was good.
I even liked the arena scene, right? Of course, where we get our cameos, we get our Abomination and
a very interesting cameo there.
Yeah, our Abomination and Wong cameo.
It's more questions than answers. That scene had.
Yeah, I agree. It was very strange because, no pun intended, with with Wong there. But so they're fighting, right? And then after the fight happens, they start talking as if they're both in on it. It's like, oh man, you need I forgot what it was. You punch hard, you pull your punches, something along those lines.
Yeah,
where it was
more
like
pulling your punches.
Yeah, it was essentially them hustling. Like they were both doing it so they can get money, and then they split the money after. So they go in, make the fight look legit, get a fuck ton of money, and they split it at the end. But then when he lets him go, and he opens up the portal, it looked like a prison.
Prison, for sure.
So I'm guessing that's a setup to Thunderbolts. He's back in prison there, and this is like some kind of training / making money scheme. Very, very interesting, especially since Abomination's like a straight up fucking crazy villain. So for him to kind of be like chilling with Wong in a way, even if it is a form of rehabilitation with Wong, it still seems pretty out there, right? So yeah, I definitely need more context in the future for this.
Abomination is essentially learning how to control his power. I feel like this whole thing was that. But it was very strange. It was very like, what the fuck is this coming from? Because there was no setup for that. There was no like, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. There's certain moments like that in this movie where I'm like, damn, you're really setting up shit for future projects rather than telling us straight up, And one of the other big things is obviously the origin of what the rings are, which they start talking about later. And you're like, damn, you really don't want to mention this, huh? Because you're probably saving it for Eternals. Because it's probably going to tie into Eternals.
Yeah, I think it's an Eternals thing.
Yeah. The way, but then at the same time, all the movies have always done that. They've all done that, so I can't hate. But it's just kind of like, god damn. I just felt like it's been a while since we've gotten so many... Since we've gotten Marvel movies, Black Widow was pretty straightforward for the most part. This is the one that has like a full-blown mystery. So it's like, oh man, I gotta wait for the next movie to get some answers. God damn it.
This absolutely has a setup, It's setting up the next movies or the next story or whatever comes after this.
Yeah. How'd you feel about the sister character? The whole starting up her own fight club shit.
Oh, I like that shit. That was amazing. Just like what Awkwafina said. Oh, you were like 18 years old and you started your own fighting club. I'm just like, yeah, dude, that's pretty awesome. Like that she actually pulled that off at such a young age. She was a good character.
It just shows. Yeah, it just shows how different they are character-wise. For different reasons. She was all the I want to be one of the boys. I want to fight with them. I want to go out on missions with them, but I'm not allowed. So you know what? Fuck you. I'm gonna start my own shit. It was very much like, yeah, fuck that shit. While Shang-Chi was like, oh man, I did it and I fucking hated it. So I'm gonna leave this life. I'm gonna live the most normal basic life ever because I don't want any of that shit again. So it's very cool the way they both played off each other for being like opposites.
Yeah, exactly. Which worked. Also worked.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk about some of the things that I didn't like. Right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, I feel that this movie was too kid-friendly. I feel that there were certain, in my opinion, very critical moments that should have been shown that were totally glazed upon. And I'm like, you did that because it's a fucking kids movie.
All right, like?
One of the ones being, when Yingli, the mother, when she's having her final stand, her final fight, I'm like, yo, there's going to be some great choreo right here. We're going to see her fuck shit up and then get killed, and it's going to be sad. Instead, we cut immediately to her already like dying and dead. And I'm like, damn. The fuck? I wanted to see like a kick-ass scene here, I watched this movie for fight scenes, and you cut a fight scene completely. And I'm just like, oh, come on, man. How cool would that have been? So that's already one. That's more of a nitpick. But a big one is Shang-Chi actually doing the assassination. I wish they would have showed that. I wanted to see his regret. I wanted to see why he regretted it. What was it? That he killed the guy and he's like, oh my god, I killed someone? Or like, what was it? Oh my god, I'm becoming my father? I wanted to see the moment. I feel like they filmed something and then they cut it because they're like, oh no, this is for kids. They get the idea. But I really wanted to see it. I felt that was a very, very crucial moment of him having his realization, like, I don't want to be anything like my dad. I got to get the fuck out of town. And then he dips. So we just get the whole, I'm going to go assassinate. And now you're doing valet. What? I don't know. Yeah. That was a pretty crucial moment. And going back to the mother scene real quick, I was trying to remember a comparison of cutting out the fight scene of the mother, the mother's death scene. It's like, remember when Godzilla would be like, hey, we're about to fight these monsters, and then they cut away to like a new cycle, and then you don't get the fight scene till the end? I felt like that. I was like, how are you going to do that?
It felt cheap.
It felt cheap. I'm like, how are you going to do that shit? So those are the two biggest things, was that I felt that they didn't want to get dark, so they cut out any mention of anything dark. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, come on, man. And,
I do agree with that. There's certain things we could have seen to see more characterizations and feel something more for these characters and their experiences. But
the movie was 2 hours and 12 minutes, so they could have put an extra 5 minutes in there.
Yeah, I mean, those sequences themselves could have been 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. But maybe they felt that it changed the pace of the movie too much.
Right. Because they weren't chronological in this film. They were jumping all around.
And these flashbacks, none of them were longer than, 3 minutes.
Yeah, they were pretty quick.
So I don't think that they would do that.
And I think I had mentioned this to you before. I felt that they kind of skimped out on a good... I felt like they skimped out on a good scene that the sister could have had. So her whole arc was that she couldn't play, she couldn't train with the boys because she's a girl and they're not allowed to train. So you have... Yeah.
She was ostracized, essentially.
She was... Exactly. So you have Death Dealer that was essentially the drill sergeant, the one that trains everyone. And he was the one specifically that's like, no, you can't. Not through talking, but like, get the fuck out of here. No, you can't. So I really wanted a fight scene between them two at the end. When the third CG mind-blowing act or whatever, I wanted them to have their own fight scene where she just fucks him up as like an actual fuck you to like, look at that. I learned by watching you, and I'm better than you. You know, like that. I know her technical ending of creating her own thing is that version of a fuck you, but I really wanted it to be specifically for Death Dealer, because he was the one that specifically was like, no, you can't train with us.
And he didn't really have a full fight scene. He was set up a lot. The most we saw him fight was with Shang-Chi in that building scene. But that was what? Yeah. Like what, 30 seconds, a minute at most?
Yeah, he got his character completely. He got almost Captain Phasma'd.
Yeah, I was thinking, about, man, what character got fucked in? Yeah, almost, dude.
It was not quite there, but it was almost there.
Yeah, it was borderline though, because apart from the training sequences, he was pointless. To be honest with you. That's it. Like, he was a drill sergeant, and then what else?
Yeah. Fun fact, just because I happened to glance past this, apparently in the 1980s, they wanted to make a Shang-Chi show with Brandon Lee. Can you imagine how interesting that would have been? I don't think it would have been great because it's like, the 80s, so it probably would have been like real fucking weird.
Yeah,
and
but it would have been through the vein of Lou Ferrigno, that he would have just been known for. He could have been known for something else.
Yeah, that's true. But it probably would have been the more caricature version of the Shang-Chi character, which this movie shedded completely, especially with perfect segue into the Mandarin. They shedded that completely out.
Yeah, I like that part where he was just kind of like, when he described like, oh, I've been called many things and people have used my shit, but there's this one time, at one point in time where they did this, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool.
This dumb American decided to use my name and called it Mandarin. That's like calling me an orange.
he was like, it's a fucking chicken dish.
yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
Oh man, it was just hilarious, dude, and I was just like, fuck that. It's a good callback to that, It closed the loop on that whole Iron Man 3 fiasco, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously it was a great pairing of the short, the Hail to the King, or Hail the King.
Yeah. And bringing back Trevor, which is great. He was useless in his movie except from the directions. But it was just so funny having him there,
Yes, I was gonna say he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't needed, but I'm glad he was in it. He brought he brought like the comedy relief that I wouldn't say that was needed, but it definitely, I don't know, it was just very entertaining to watch. Him with being the court jester, is just perfect because if you've watched the short, he was in these shitty like D-list movies, so just having him be like a literal, he was a joke to us in Iron Man 3, and then they turned him into a literal joke by making him the court jester. But then they added this funny, random, makes absolutely no sense thing of where he can talk to one of the mythical creatures, Morris.
Yeah.
It was so funny because that just made me think like he could understand it because he's fucking crazy. Like, that's the way I took it as. I'm like, the guy's not right in the head. Of course he understands it.
I also liked his
and how nonchalant he is.
Yeah, he's so nonchalant. And I also liked his stupid ass rant of Planet of the Apes, which was hilarious, dude.
Oh my god, that was so good.
He still thought the monkeys did it.
How did they have those monkeys ride those horses? I'm like, oh good god, that's so good.
It was just hilarious, dude. That whole sequence. I liked I love how he kept one-upping himself because you thought like, oh, I thought he was gonna say, oh, and I realized there were humans in costumes, but he just kept saying, but it's the monkeys. Monkeys riding horses? How do they do that? This acting.
It's acting. Yeah, you're waiting for the reveal, but then I realized it's acting. You're like, wait, you didn't realize they're fake? Okay. Yeah.
And the way he just presented it, he killed it like that. Yeah. How he delivered all the lines. He was just it made you feel like, I believe this. Like, this is truly something I believe.
He's such a great actor, old Ben dude. Kingsley.
Jesus,
isn't he a sir? Isn't he Sir Ben? Yeah, he is Sir Ben Kingsley. So good. I also like another scene he was in that I liked is where he's playing dead. I thought that was pretty good.
I'm just acting.
Shh, come on, man! I'm playing dead.
Man, that's just shit, hilarious, man. Dude. But yeah, dude, I mean, you see, all the things you mentioned that you didn't like, and I understand and it makes sense in the scheme of things. Like there's a lot of things that got shortchanged in this movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like if it would have had that, it may have cut the movie short, with the exception of the last final fight. I mean, not cut the movie short, but cut the pace of it off. Except the final fight, you said the death dealer and his sister, they should have had that fight. And
they then there was no excuse
maybe halfway,
not to.
Like if she was about to lose, or it was. Like they were just both of them about to die, and then the soul sucker takes some shit like that.
No, I think it would have been like her. I know it's a little generic at this point, but her like actually defeating him completely, and then he goes up to like backstab her or some shit, and that's when the thing comes in and like Dunzo
that would have been sick.
I don't know.
Absolutely, that was something that I thought was really shortchanged because it just felt like a joke. Like you're like, oh shit, this is a badass fight that I've been waiting to see because he has been presented as a badass. He's trained everybody, and here he comes. He's gonna fucking get down, and then all of a sudden he gets soul sucked, and I'm just like, fuck. It's just that joke because you're like, oh, it's the subversion of expectations. He's just like, oh, you thought you're gonna see something cool, psych. We're gonna make a joke out of it, And I think that's what probably you feel like. You had something stolen, like you were ripped off here, because it was a joke. It got turned into a joke.
So, I know I was. What was the one that I shitted on with the third CG Fest? Oh yes. So Black Panther, I shitted on that last act almost completely because of the final fight between the two. So when they had the animals, the rhinos, all that extra shit CG, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But the fact that T'Challa and Killmonger's suits were fully CG and they were doing some weird shit on a subway. It looked bad.
It looked very bad.
Here, now this movie, the entire last act is almost all CG because of all the craziness. But the characters still look like actual fucking real characters because they were. Sure, they're flying on top of dragons. They're shooting through the air, with magical fucking rings and all that. I get that, but it still made sense in the context. It didn't take me out of it because I understood that we were in a fantasy world. I understood that this was a throwback. I don't even know if throwback's the right word. Reference to all of Chinese lore, Chinese legends, like the mystical monsters. I don't know, monsters, creatures. There you go. Stuff like that. So yeah, it all kind of made sense. It did feel a little out of place to me in a way because I went into it wanting some martial arts, maybe some powers with the rings and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really. I was a little on the fence for a bit about it going too fantasy. But it grew on me, and at the same time, it's a whole other section of the MCU that opened up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it makes sense with the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. And then it just added to a pretty interesting fight scene of him using the rings again to try and stop the thing. I will say he got around. I remember a couple of the things that we actually gave Captain Marvel props for was the fact that they gave a scene where she was fumbling to learn her powers. And we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. She fumbled a little bit to learn and get around. They didn't have that with Shang-Chi. He got the rings and he was already like, wow, boom, bow. I'm like, oh, shit, you're already flying and know how to use this? I would have liked at least a couple slip-ups, even though you're in the final boss already.
You know why? I think it's because you've seen his father do it. So he spent... All right, let's just say he was, 10 years old? Maybe 8 years old when his mom died? And he spent the next, 10, 7 years... or 6 years with his dad fucking shit up, and I think he just saw how his father used it, and he's like, "Oh, I could mimic that." You know what I'm saying? So, and then when he learned the other choreography, he was using that other fight stance to defeat his dad essentially, and then he saw how the rings reacted to that fighting stance and how they just enveloped him.
Yeah, he kept stealing. I liked how he kept stealing them one by one. You know.
Yeah. So I remember at some point when he looks around, he's like, "Oh shit, the rings are doing what is that orbiting around me, And he's like, he looks at them. It's not like he was just like, yeah, I got them now. He was just kind of like, oh shit, I have them now, So I think that seeing his dad and the new fight technique he was using to stop his dad, I think all that added to that knowledge. Not that knowledge, but the usage of the rings. What I will say was off was at the end when he actually killed the monster. How did he know how to do that? Because I know there was times where maybe when all the rings were orbiting around him, when he defeated his dad or some shit like that, or when he was about to defeat his dad, maybe in that sense he's like, oh, I could probably do the same thing I'm doing with these rings right now to the monster, but how did he actually know how to do that? And that's probably maybe the only thing I would say that I was kind of like, oh, he learned this shit without anything.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, definitely to me, the last act was the weakest, but it didn't kill it for me. I still enjoyed it very much. It made sense within it, and a couple of those things you mentioned there, we could totally just write off. One of the interesting things, though, I guess, of like plot holes, if I can even call it a plot hole, the whole traveling through the hidden sections of the forest, like that's supposed to be an entrance since like the beginning of time, I suppose, like back in the day, pre-cars. How the fuck did anyone even get there? Do you have to run really, 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 really fast to like get there? Because the only reason why they were able to get through all that is because they had the car. And it's like, wait, before cars, how did you guys get through here? Like,
you know what I think it was is nobody did.
Nobody did. Yeah, you're right. That's it.
I think remember they said there's been people who've come, and I think they just probably came with a massive army and people getting fucked up and shit, Or they've came during that one point where the straight road was open. But other than that, I think the people who
which is how Wenwu got there. Wenwu got there because of the straight road.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think people ever went there, and if they did, they got fucked up. And the people of Dao Lao, I think it's called. They never left.
Tao Lo? I think it was Tao Lo.
Tao Lo, yeah. Yeah, I don't think they ever escaped. I don't think they ever wanted to leave anyway. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Those things move so fast, and I think that was the whole point of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention something, and I completely forgot what I was gonna mention. It was like I was waiting for a break, but I just there's this one.
Let's see if it
thing
comes back to you.
Mention. It was on the tip of my tongue. I can't figure it out now.
As far as I was trying to remember what the after credits were. That's right. So, well, actually, before that, how'd you feel about the ending where they where they join the Avengers, even though there are no Avengers?
So when essentially they what's
Wong.
his name? Wong comes and get him in the restaurant. It was a cool sequence because it piggybacked the literal end of the movie, and it was opening the box to see what these rings are, because throughout the movie you're like, how did he get them? What are they? How do they work? All these things. So then,
which initially, because it is in the comics that way, it's an alien tech, and I'm like, oh, it's alien tech. But then you get that scene that you're mentioning now, where they specifically mention it's not alien tech.
Yeah.
Because of Captain Marvel, because she's like, oh, I've looked through the encyclopedias of no sé qué mierda, and it's not alien tech. And then you had Wong go, I've gone through all the mystical encyclopedias of all the mystical shit, and it's not mystical. And then it's like, so what is it? Dun dun dun. And then we know Eternals is coming out, which is not alien tech, but kind of. It's like weird, futuristic, old as fuck tech that's like pre-universe. Yeah. So they'll definitely go that route.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna find out more, but I just really love that scene, and Wong was able to kind of play with it too, you know. And I think that was a pretty interesting part of how he kind of went more in depth into like the atomic level of these fucking rings, you know, and find out that there's that beacon. So it's like, who do you think that beacon is called? What's your theory here about that beacon?
I don't know. I'm guessing it's calling a celestial. That's my guessing, because I'm still with the Eternals route, right? So if it's doing a beacon, it must be something from the whole celestial part of the whole universe. So yeah, it's calling one of those things over. That's my guess.
Yeah,
because I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I can't think of anything else right now. I could literally be anything. For all we know, it could be like it's calling to Galactus and it's introducing Fox properties. Like, I really don't know, but I'm definitely leaning more towards a celestial.
Yeah. It has to do something. For me, it has to do something with the Eternals. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
It has to do something like that. What do you think about the second sequence of his sister taking over the 10 rings?
Right. So the first sequence was Captain Marvel and Hulk talking about that shit, and then they ended with karaoke, and then the second one ends with the karaoke.
They bring back that joke.
Yeah, the joke of like, whenever you don't know what to do, how to react, just sing Hotel California and you'll confuse everyone and you can get out of anything. Which she does when she's about to like get whooped in the bamboo scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good. But so the second one, I think it's pretty cool. I don't think they're going to introduce her as a villain. I think they're going to introduce her as an anti-hero though. So, interesting. The movie is very different from the comics right now. I caught up on modern Shang-Chi comics, very different from the old comics. They totally revamped them, and then this movie revamped them even further. So I got a feeling, so the Shang-Chi in the comics, he takes over his same thing. His dad isn't Mandarin or Wenwu, but he is like a fucking 100,000-year-old guy that he took over a group of assassins from. But so in the comic, he actually takes over the group of assassins and he's trying to like turn them for good. But then all the heroes are like, yo, you're in charge of assassins. So he runs into fights with heroes. Like, he was fighting like Spider-Man, Wolverine, like shit like that. Like, he just happened to run into fights like that because of the misunderstandings of him having the assassin group. I think that part of that story is going to transition to the sister. The sister is going to be in charge of the whole warlord assassin group. And she'll definitely, I'm thinking, based on her character, that it'll lean more towards the lighter side, but at the end of the day it's still very gray. So I think it'll be an anti-hero vibe for her moving forward, of like, yo, yeah, you're still a criminal, but I guess you're doing it for something good.
Yeah I think Marvel's moving a lot of their villains into that headspace, right, of being not true villains but also could be redeemable. I mean, think about all the villains we've had. Thanos himself was a true villain, but he also had maybe that redeemable quality of like, oh, but there's something about him that makes you think like, hey, maybe he is right, you know?
Yeah. You're like, you know what? Maybe he is right. He's just a little extreme, but maybe the idea is right.
Exactly. And then you had Black Panther with Killmonger, where you understood why he was doing what the things he was doing.
Yeah. Well, with the oppression and everything, the rage from being oppressed, 100%.
And then you had in WandaVision, you had Wanda herself, which was a villain, a semi-villain.
Yeah.
I get the Harkness, was a villain. There's nothing redeemable about her, but she was just a power-hungry witch, who just wasn't really going after people. She was going after witches and trying to get more power, which is a different thing.
Yeah. But I definitely get what you're saying though with all those villains though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and okay, now even think about what is the name of this movie? Captain and Winter Soldier. I mean that
Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yep.
That TV show, you had the main villain who ended up becoming an anti-hero.
The Flag Smashers.
So the Flag Smashers were not true villains either. So it's kind of like,
and Zemo, yeah.
Zemo became a villain that's now a anti-hero also. So it's just kind of like Walker was an anti-hero also. So it's kind of like you had a lot of these anti-heroes as villains, misunderstood, who are essentially villains. And
yeah.
That's happening a lot. Well, except with Black Widow, that he was a straight up cookie cutter, one note villain.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Unless you think of the Spy Family.
Also anti-heroes.
Somewhat, yeah. So there you have it. Anti-heroes is the new thing.
All right, let me ask you this question now. Shang-Chi introduces the dragon, the whole dragon thing, right? Where, even Shang-Chi could be part dragon or has a connection to the dragon because his mom even says you have a heart of a dragon. So, maybe that's why he unlocks something special within those rings because of that reason, right? So something about him is connected to these dragons, these mystical creatures. So, what do you think now about Iron Fist? Do you think they're ever going to bring him into the fold now? Because you introduce dragons into this world. You've seen a dragon. And in Iron Fist, he actually defeats a dragon, right? To become Iron Fist. Right. Or some shit like that. And he's in Kung Lao, and this face is Tao Lao or some shit like that, right? What is that name?
Talo. Yeah. I just looked it up. Yeah, Talo.
So it's kind of like they have the same vibe to it.
Kung Lun. Well, what was the name of the Iron Fist one?
Yeah, some shit like that. So, what do you think? You think Marvel's is gonna actually introduce Iron Fist and have two heroes with the same kind of power set?
I don't think they're going to do it anytime soon, but they absolutely do have the potential to do it. If they do it, they're going to give Iron Fist a serious revamp because I think they're tired of the white savior Bruce Wayne thing because it's been done already. Because that's what he is. He really is Bruce Wayne, if you think about it.
But Kung Fu.
Yeah, exactly. But with martial arts, whatever style he had. Yeah, they could do it, but I don't see them doing it anytime soon. I don't see them doing it anytime soon. They were just like, fuck it. No one wanted to, they're still thinking about no one wanted to see it in Netflix, so blah, blah, blah. They're definitely going to push, we already know, they're going to push Daredevil and Punisher before that shit. And Kingpin.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Because those were the hits, Jessica Jones, they're not gonna fuck with because that's very rated R stuff, and they still want to keep it. Unless Deadpool changes the game coming up, they're definitely gonna keep it family friendly until that happens. So yeah, man, I don't see them doing Iron Fist anytime soon. I don't see a desire for it because if you're like, oh, I got my martial arts fix from Shang-Chi, that's it. I don't need to do any of that.
That is true. That's very true. And you also have the hand, which is actually kind of like the 10 rings. There's ninja organization and shit.
Right. Damn. Exactly. Which fun fact, in Ninja Turtles, they're called the Foot Clan. It's because it's a parody of the Hand from Daredevil.
That's so funny.
And his mentor was Stick. The Ninja Turtles' mentor is Splinter, a stick. So it's all just a parody.
That's cool, man. Final thoughts here. When's the next time you think you're gonna see Shang-Chi?
Well, shit, I wanted to watch it the weekend that passed, but
no, I'm saying when is the next time you're gonna see him in the movie, not the movie itself.
Oh, I think when's I gonna watch the movie?
The next appearance of Shang-Chi, essentially.
Ooh, let me see what's coming up. That's very interesting. Maybe if anything, coming up, he might be mentioned in the Marvels, like a cameo. I would guess that the Marvels is a cameo.
Interesting. The next cameo.
It's most likely later than that, but I'm guessing a cameo over there.
All right. What about the 10 Rings? The organization.
Yeah, they did say
next time.
So they specifically said the 10 Rings will return. Not Shang-Chi will return.
But it could also mean Shang-Chi with the 10 Rings.
Yeah,
The interpretation of 10 rings could be taken differently here.
Yeah.
It could be the literal 10 rings or the organization 10 rings.
I honestly think that was their douchey way of not believing in the movie and saying, in case it's a flop, we won't bring him back, but we'll bring the artifacts back. Ooh, wait a minute. The 10 rings will return. We might see the origin of the rings. The 10 rings are going to return in Eternals, dude. That's it.
Nah, I don't think so.
They're specifically the 10 rings. The 10 rings will return.
I think next time we'll see him, it has to be in
no, because I think I think it's going to be an origin of the origin of the 10 rings itself. I don't mean Shang-Chi wielding them. I mean Eternals
I know.
Have a scene.
Are you talking about the? Yeah, I'm thinking we're gonna see that in the Multiverse of Madness. Because maybe these rings are multiversal.
Maybe. And we don't know anything about that yet, so.
The plot.
Nah. Shang-Chi really cameos, the Marvels. That's my theory.
Whoa, taking it all the way back. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say the 10 rings coming back in Armor War. The organization. The rings, the organization. It's gonna play a big part in Armor Wars.
That's where Hammer's coming back.
Yep, exactly. Cool. I'm excited for that one.
Cool.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens then.
Yeah.
All right. Any last thoughts, Peds?
Nope. We got it all, man. Good shit.
Awesome, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this review of Shang-Chi and the Legend of 10 Rings. Let us know your thoughts about the movie. Let us know what you enjoyed and did not enjoy. Do you agree with me and Pedro when the next time we're going to see Shang-Chi? Or the 10 Rings? Or the little organization called 10 Rings? Let us know. You know where to do it. We get Instagram, Facebook, or email. Whichever. Doesn't matter. Or you could text us, if you have our number. Yeah.
Sure.
You 10 beautiful fans out there. Love you every day.
That's right, baby. Love you guys.
Till next time.
Bye-bye.